Today I'm talking to Charlie Watts from the University of Portsmouth. Charlie, hi. Good to see
Hello.
you. Can you tell us a little bit about the courses you run at Portsmouth, first of all?
Certainly. I'm an academic lead for the School of Film, Media and Communication. And I'm across two courses. One is referred to as BA Film Production, and the other one is a BSc Television and Broadcasting. I'm involved in teaching on them. I don't run either of them as such.
So you're looking at both the creative side and the technical side?
Yes, absolutely. And unusually, the film production, although it's a BA, is highly technical. The BSc, it's a lot easier to get technical teaching and learning under the door, so to speak, because of that kind of qualification. And I love that as well. I hope you don't mind me going off piece a bit. I did a BA many years ago. I loved the creativity, the art focus, and whatnot. But my first day on the job, it was a rude awakening of how technical things are. And from that path onwards, from that day onwards, that's the kind of pursuit I've had since.
And just to fill in the background, you've worked in the real world before becoming an academic.
Yes, I did. I went to university very late in my life at 27. I'd kind of messed things up beforehand, so I was very, very lucky to have that chance. And I was able to create a career in my early 30s for about 10 years as an avid video editor. And I do deem myself very lucky to be able to make that happen. And I owe a lot of it to university because of that.
That's great news. That's a good story. So at the moment, all anybody ever thinks about is COVID-19. What's happening to your students at the moment?
At the moment, so I see this as being a form of bookends as such. In one sense, COVID happening and everyone reacting to lockdown, we've been able to deal with that really well. I think it's a terrible end. If I was a graduate or soon to be graduate now, my third year, terrible end to the university. We are hugely sympathetic to that. From our perspective as being able to keep things going and to be able to assess and to close things down as closely as we could, I think we've been relatively successful. However, looking at the front end and now us facing a new academic year, that's a different story. And we are in the hands of whatever change in events may come. If there is a huge, well, we're hoping, as everyone is in the world, we're hoping this is not going to come backwards or come back as such. But if there is a lessening of lockdown, that's what we're hoping for, because we are the two courses I'm across are vocational, hugely vocational. If I were facing up chalk and talk, I'm sure academics across the country are hating me referring to theory-based courses as chalk and talk. But if that's what I was facing, you can go online like Cambridge has. You can go completely online and you can deal with things as you expect. For vocational courses, however, it's hugely different, and we are mildly concerned.
And of course, it's not just a vocational course in the sense that mechanical engineering might be. This industry is very collaborative. I mean, you depend upon working with your peers. So that must be really hard for the students to get their heads around at the moment.
It is, to a certain degree. We are facing, come October, with a very open mind. We don't know if students are going to choose to defer. We don't know if students are going to be, if they do return, if they're going to be very grumpy in terms of what we've got planned. As far as I'm concerned, what we have got planned will be as close as possible to how industry's been reacting to this current crisis as such. So we are, and in some case it will bear some sort of similarity to how you're going to shop in your local supermarket with a click and collect for hire and so on and so on.
Yeah, it's the more you think about it, the more the challenges become more complex. So what are you saying to next year's intake at the moment? How can you prepare them for what might be coming?
We are asking them to be as open-minded as possible. We are trying to, in some cases where we can, slip and slide taught modules. There are some modules that which are quite theory-based and written-based, where we can flip and flop those into different zones. We're going to try and do that. Obviously, students that join a vocational course find the writing bit a bit onerous, but I see it as being equally as valid. It's a way, it's a way for you helping you to structure your thoughts and to get things down on paper. Huge learning aim and a huge learning outcome. But yeah, we're just trying to be. We've always been candid. We've always been candid with our students. We've always been very, very upfront with them and honest. We're hoping they're going to be as open-minded and face this brave new future as we are going to.
And the honest point is that none of us know what's going to be happening by September. Things are changing day by day, and we hope that a lot of the restrictions might be lifted come the autumn, but we don't know.
That's what we're hoping for. So again, we've always based ourselves in a real world situation where we do take industry's lead. There's no point us teaching something that's completely different, that's not done in the outside world. And thankfully, there has been a lot of really good reports, really good risk assessments that have already happened, that we are devouring, and we're trying to adapt as best we can to a university kind of situation. Our concern is that that's great for industry. If you're an expert today in the field, having a new lot of documentation come through on how to deal with COVID is an adaptation to your work process. Fair enough. When we're in the business of trying to get people to even come close to a professional viewpoint on how you work in the real world, and additionally put these extra concerns on them, that's where it's going to be very, very tricky for us.
Yeah, simple things like, I don't know, white balance on a camera. No cameraman is ever going to take a camera out and plug it in without flicking on a white balance, but students have got to learn that routine. You've got to have somebody in their ear saying, "Have you done a white balance yet?"
That's a really good point. One of the things that we are very conscious of making a mistake with, there are certain things that are just known. There are certain things in industry, there are certain things that's just known that this is how you do it. This is how you always do it. And this is where it might be adapted in the future, but this is the process. Where we have to keep ourselves in check is it's very easy to sometimes forget that a new intake might not know any of that. We can often think, oh yeah, everyone knows how to white balance. Everyone knows how to level a camera, so on, so on. And every now and then we go, oops, sorry, we we may have skipped over that bit. Let's go back and go back to the basics again, whatnot. It's an easy mistake to make.
Yeah, and that's not something you can put into an academic chalk and talk course. That's something that you learn by doing and possibly making the mistake. Absolutely. And then putting it right.
Yeah, and that's where we've been, I think, really successful in that I think we're one of the rare universities in the country that are regularly asking for live television work. And it's that regularity. Students are doing it every week, and in some cases daily. It embeds a practice, it embeds the right way of doing things in their brains, which is good. It's hardwiring that.
Yeah. That's something that your course is particularly good at and hugely valuable. The opportunities you've got for real life stuff. You've got to deal, for instance, with Portsmouth Football Club.
Yes, although not currently, unfortunately. That's all regarding how they were going to do I think they may still be doing the playoffs, but that will be solely filmed by Sky. There was a hope that the last few matches were going to be played out. And we've been involved in Portsmouth Football Club now for just over 3 years. A hugely unique sponsorship deal, which brought with it not just the banner on players' shirts, but also a collaboration where students are going. They're filming matches. They're vision mixing live. That's going to a big screen, and it's all done in front of 20,000 people. That's a sizable chunk of learning for anyone to get their heads around. And when it first started, we were it was a stressful time, shall I say? It was a challenging time for all, but and I take my hat off to the undergraduates that faced that. They're the ones that made it happen. They're the ones that made it work so well. We were just in the background facilitating and helping where we could.
That's a remarkable teaching opportunity and a remarkable chance for the students to do real hands-on stuff, which otherwise you couldn't do. You never get access to live cameras at a football match otherwise.
No. And it has to come with a willingness. You have to be, I mean, to do that in front of 20,000 people. In some cases, we've done smaller events that maybe to 200, and that's nerve-wracking. So yeah, for them to take that step forward and do that in front of 20,000 people, especially vision mixing, what they're doing with vision mixing is on the second they're having to adapt. They part of the process is they are not allowed to show a foul, for example. That's against FA rules. So the moment that happens, they have to go to either an advert or to a different screen, to a scoreboard. And yeah, that's pretty nerve-wracking. My hat off to them.
Yes. I hadn't thought about that extra level of what you can and can't show. Yeah, that's a real challenge.
It is.
What sort of technology are they using for this for things like the football?
Well, we train our students on ROS and the TriCaster. Now, I am trying to remember. I've actually forgotten. I've forgotten the kit that they use. So I don't know if you can splice in. I'll try and get some sort of a commentary on that and get that back to you in the question if you want to ask.
Sure. No,
later.
No, not to worry. But these are, certainly in the case of the ROS switcher, that's real stuff. That's the stuff that pros use, and
yes.
You're in there giving them a real experience.
Yeah, and we also try and make sure they use as much. It's a different kit. I think it's very easy for universities to go, you know what, that's a great deal from this manufacturer. Let's just go this, let's go overboard on just the same cameras, vision mixing, so on and so on. We try and give that spread because, it would be rubbish on us, I think, to train someone and to teach someone on a particular bit of kit. In their first day in industry, it's something completely different, a brand they've never heard of.
Yeah.
Same as Avid. I mean, we're very Avid focused.
Yeah, but
there are other editing
other editors are available. Yeah, quite.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What about IP? How far have you moved from conventional connectivity to IP and networked systems?
We have, I think any vocational course is hugely appreciative and only as good as their support staff. So I've got to cite two people here, Stephen Bellinger and Michael Parsons. 3 years ago, did some initial R&D work to scope out how we could move from being quite hardwired into certain locations and moving to being remote. In terms of Dante audio and IP cabling, we're now running up to 7 cameras in as many locations as we want, and it's their worry and their foresight that has kind of brought us into a remote existence now. Which I'm thinking this is also going to help us with COVID in terms of how we can now remotely, as long as we have good broadband. We are able to set up pretty much anywhere and run a multitude of different programs as well, all from differing places.
Yeah, I mean, if remote production wasn't a major course item before, it's got to be now, hasn't it? That we have to find new ways of doing things. Yeah.
I've read in various industry magazines that even hardcore broadcasters have hesitated because it is such a leap forward. And we spend public money, so we've got to be doubly certain that whatever we spend has to work. And in some cases, we have to research it so thoroughly because we don't often get sent down samples or anything that we can test just to make doubly certain. Sometimes it's all based on the spec and that hope when you connect something that it's going to be, whew, it's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And they took that worry, not me. They were worried about that.
KITPLUS has been interested and quite vocal about the whole concept of education for this industry for some time. I've been writing and talking about it and running conferences about how we bring people into the industry. So
Yeah.
What do we do? How do we recruit the best talent and stop them going away to Google or Amazon?
That last point, Dick, is a really good one. There is so much on YouTube, Google, that can give you the teaching you require. In some cases, I think it's nice to have, an academic or an expert help shape that journey. To have someone to a certain degree take your hand through all of what's out there, be it correct, in some cases incorrect, is a really, really vital thing. We face it by being honest. At the end of the day, be honest. I think if you want to go into a specialist industry, I face up to vocational courses, so I'm bound to say vocational is just one of the best elements of learning. But you've got to couple that with real world stuff, and that's hugely stressful on us. You can see that patch of hair that's gone now. To try and emulate, or in some cases do a real project within education with students that are learning, with clients that are willing to actually go on that same learning journey with students as well, it's a fantastically rewarding journey, but it's fantastically stressful at times as well. Anything can happen. And us in higher education have to react to it as best we can. Very long answer there. Sorry about that.
No, that's great. I mean, I think the takeaway point is that if you want a career in this industry, then there will be days of very high stress. If you're directing
you've got to get
the
your hands
final or the opening ceremony of the Olympics, then learning to cope with stress is as much a part of the process as working out which buttons to push.
Yeah. I think one of the problems with university, if you don't want me saying, one of the problems with university is I think a lot of youngsters go to university seeing it for what you get at the end of it, which is the degree, and we don't view it that way. End of the day, university is an absolute golden time to learn, make so many mistakes, because it's in the mistakes that you get to be really good, because you learn from them. And the qualification at the end is all very lovely, and I know employers want it, but it's what happens in those 3 or 4 years is vital.
Sure. And a heavily practical course does give you the chance to make all the cock-ups that there are.
Absolutely. And the more the merrier. Unless it's with a client.
What about What about relationships with future employers? Where do your students end up?
It's so broad now. We've had our doors open for just the television course for 15 years. The film production course has been 16, 17 years. The major broadcasters, independent companies, some of our students even go freelance after a few years. I can mention Sky, BBC, Channel 4, yada, yada. The list goes on. Sports companies. And in the nice factor is some of our graduates have now become employers themselves. So it's almost a self-perpetuating kind of journey. They're coming to us now saying, "Who have you got? Who's really good at this? We want to interview, a selection of people here." So it's part. I think it's been coupled with our honesty, our forcing people to do things for real, that has earned us a name. It's taken a long time, but we are never complacent, but we're in a place that we are enjoying.
That's terrific. It all sounds very positive indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Charlie, for talking to me. Before we go, though, I have to ask, is that a left-hand guitar behind you?
It is a left-handed guitar. I've never been able to drum, and I can't actually play that very well. But hey, it's a hobby.
Brilliant. Charlie Watts, Portsmouth University, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.